I know. I had a client and he asked me when we first started, he said, how long do I keep marketing my book? And I said, how long do you want to keep selling the book?
That's the
You
question.
stop one and that will stop the other. Too.
Yep.
It's
Right.
a pipeline.
Hey everyone, it's Jen Foster with the Elite Publishing Podcast. I'm really excited today because I'm going to be talking to a podcaster, author, and book marketer, Susan Friedman. And she is a CSP, which is a certified speaking professional. And she's a badass nonfiction book marketer. And she has turned her 30 plus years experience into a mission to help nonfiction authors stand out from the crowd. So she talks my language. We're going to help you if you're looking to write a book or if you're looking to sell bulk books. This is what Susan is expertise at. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, Jen.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into book publishing and marketing.
Oh, I didn't start off wanting to do this by any stretch of the imagination, but hey, 35 years later, I love what I do. How did I get started? By being laid off not once, not twice, but 3 times. Then I just got this message. I think somebody up there has got a different plan for me. So I decided to go out on my own and I went into the trade show industry. And this is an incredible industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And you said that I'm a certified speaking professional and I'm very involved with the National Speakers Association. And I asked one of my stalwarts in the association, I said, what should I do? I'm starting out. He said, write a book. Okay. No plans to write a book, but hey, if he said write a book, write a book. So guess what? He said, you don't even have to get it published by anyone. He says, just write it. That's not Susan's style. She has to have it published.
Yeah.
So I reached out to a few publishers and it took a while, obviously the rejections, etc. But then I landed on a company that was great fit. Chris Publications, they printed books that were called the 50-minute book, which meant you can read it cover to cover in 50 minutes.
Nice.
The 10 ways to do this, the 5 ways to do that, up my alley. Perfect for me. So we published the book. And I was like, okay, now what we're going to do? And I thought, hey, let's look at what we need to be doing to not only sell this in onesies and twosies, but sell this in bulk.
Yes.
We can look at that story in a moment. But
Yeah.
along the way of writing my book and really starting a publishing company too, to publish any other books that I had, I was approached by a writing coach. And he said, would you publish my book? Would you publish my client's books? And I was like, I don't see why not. No, never even thought about that as a possibility because I was just publishing my own stuff. Any event, long story short, I published his book. I published and I continue to publish his clients' books. And as I say, been doing this for over 30 years. And we published over, I think, 1,200 titles now. And it's great. So I didn't start off this way, but I love what I'm doing. And I gave up the trade show training market many years ago. And my total focus now is on publishing and then working with authors to help them with their marketing journey.
Yes. I love that.
You know a lot about.
Yes. And I love that you
We're
talk
gonna
about the
talk about
marketing.
that.
Yeah, the marketing journey, because a lot of authors, it's so much for them to write the book and publish the book that they're like, oh, phew, I'm done. And then that's not. You're just getting started. This is the start.
Yeah.
So the book marketing journey, I love that you followed a journey because it is a journey. And the thing that people don't realize is it can be a long journey and it can keep selling. The book can keep selling. One of my first was probably my third book was called Books to Bucks, and it was about how to make money with a book. And I put in there that there was a quilting book at my quilt store, and she was having a book signing party at the quilt store. And it was about quilting, and I thought, oh, interesting. And then I look at the book, and it was published like 5 years before that. Like she had written it 5 years ago, but she would do a book signing every year or twice a year in that quilt shop because different people come in, different people know about it, and you could get, and I'm like, oh, yeah, continued marketing. That makes a lot of sense.
I know. I had a client and he asked me when we first started, he said, how long do I keep marketing my book? And I said, how long do you want to keep selling your book?
That's the
You
question.
stop one and that will stop the other.
Yep.
It's
Right.
a pipeline.
Yes. So your journey, you started out trade shows. You wrote your first books first because it was for speaking. You were speaking, and then you helped others start to publish. So then that kind of moved into the publishing company. So did you start out doing traditional publishing, and so you like kept took a portion of the royalties, or did you when did it evolve, or do you self-publish now, or is it more traditional?
It is more on the self-publishing side, so that I'm an umbrella for people who want to self-publish. Do not take royalties. It's a flat fee to play in my playground.
Yep.
And for me, it's also a door opener to the marketing because my background is definitely marketing. And so I want to get authors on that bandwagon as soon as possible, because otherwise they're going to go off onto Amazon and they're going to follow 100 different people who are doing 100 different things. And it worked for them. It's going to work for me. No, not necessarily.
Yes, I love that because it is an individual journey and each book is different.
Yes.
Some books you can bulk sell a certain way, and other books you wouldn't be able to do it. You have to pivot a little bit, right? A little bit here, a little bit there to make it work out.
Exactly.
So I like that.
Exactly. And I'm very much of the opinion that if you can cut, dice, and slice your book in as many different ways as possible, you can create different products, different opportunities that way. You do not have to write another book in order to do that. You've got one book that has so much information in there that you can use it in so many different ways. You can release the chapters separately, which I've done in a series. I've taken chapters and I've published them separately. I've used them in anthologies, compilation books. What else have I done with them? Selling them in bulk to companies. That's why I really like nonfiction, and also if they're in the business environment too, because there are many opportunities there.
Let's dive into that. Let's dive into the bulk sales. So how would you go about selling more than one book at a time? Because I know some authors who that didn't even cross their mind. Wait, there's people that will buy 100 or 1,000 at a time? What? Tell me about that.
Yes.
Explain a little bit about how you can get your book into bulk sales.
So one of the things that I advocate is being in a niche market. So then you're already differentiating yourself from the crowd. So I take my own example that I was in the trade show industry. My target audience were exhibitors at trade shows. It's a niche market.
Very,
The trade show market is a niche, but it's a niche within a niche.
Yes,
And
which is very good.
Micro niches too.
Very good to have.
What I looked at was who else had my target audience in mind, who was had the same target audience, but we complemented rather than competed against each other. So when I looked at this idea more deeply, I came across that the people who sell the exhibits at trade shows, their audience are exhibitors at trade shows. So they need training. Their clients need training. Because if you've ever been to a trade show, any of our listeners, viewers who've been to trade shows, they've seen people sitting behind the tables, reading their own literature, eating, and not knowing they're in a foreign environment. They feel uncomfortable. They make you feel uncomfortable. We don't want that. So I approached a company and asked them whether they were interested in the book. I thought this would be a good compliment. And one company was what they call custom exhibits. These are these big, fancy exhibits that you got stairs on 2-3 level, cost millions of dollars sometimes to produce. Any event, one company loved it. They bought 2,000 books for their
Nice.
clients. And I thought, hey, I'm onto a good thing here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to their competition, but I'm going to look in the trade show arena. They've got custom exhibits, and then you've got what known as portable exhibits. So I thought, I've been to the custom people. Let's go over to the portable people and see whether they're interested. And so they loved the book as well, except we looked at it into a different way. We used it slightly differently. We took the guts of it. They wanted a smaller version because it wasn't affordable as well as the full book. So we took a smaller version of it, and they ordered 500,000 copies and had it translated into 5 languages.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome. So you got a license deal and you got 500,000 copies sold.
Exactly. And what they did with this was they used it with their distributors, and their distributors would give this book to anybody who was interested in having a demonstration of the portable exhibit. Then they would get a copy of the book, my name, my information on there. So guess what? These were my marketing people. They were doing my marketing for me. Yes, it worked out really beautifully. I was very fortunate. But when I work with my authors, I don't say that I'm going to help them to sell anywhere near 500,000 because I just don't know. However, one of the ways to make money with a book is through speaking or coaching or training. And these days, if you're a speaker, you have to have a book.
Yes, for sure. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, which people always say is, what does the average book sell? Like the average book, how many copies do you sell? Do you know the answer?
250.
Yes.
250.
Only 250. So
250.
just know that if you've sold more than that, you're doing really great because you're doing above average.
Amazingly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So let's dive into the speaking. So you have a book and you're speaking. How do you, besides the speaker's fee, how do you get the books involved in that? How do you?
Yes, it's part of your fee. It's part of the contract that everybody in the room gets a copy of your book. People are saying, oh, the meeting planner doesn't have that in their budget. No, maybe not. However, companies and associations have different buckets of funds for different things. They have a PR budget. They have an advertising budget. They have a meeting budget. They have promotions budget. You have to be clever and look at where do they have money? They may not have it as part of your fee. So
for the speaking fee,
into other opportunities.
Yeah. So they may not have the speaking fee, but they might have it in their promotions fee or their...
Have it in their promotions. They might have it in their advertising. They might have it in their PR budget. That fits into everything, their publicity. All of that that your book could be sold under. Then the other thing is to look at opportunities for sponsorship. Who might be interested in sponsoring your book to give out to everybody in their audience? Is there a bank that might be interested? Is there an insurance company? Is there a financial planner? You have to look at who else is interested in that audience, in the audience who you're speaking to.
Yes. And I think we were talking in the green room, you were talking about brainstorming with authors. And the other day, we'll have a link at the end, but the other day I was talking to a new author, and she's spent over 30 years writing this book. It's her baby. But this book, she was a florist and then a wedding planner, and she would do all the flowers for the weddings. And at the end of the day, when she'd come home from the wedding, she'd write down what happened and the miracles that day. And so I told her, she's, how am I going to make my money back? Like, how am I going to do this? Like, I don't know what to do. And so we brainstormed a little. So I wanted to see what you thought. How would you sell bulk sales of a book? It's almost like a Chicken Soup for the Soul, but for weddings, right? It's a little bit of each little story of the wonderful things that happened at a wedding and some details about the flowers. So it's a flowery book, like talks about flowers and meaning of flowers, but it also is wedding stories. How would you get bulk sales, or who would you target?
You could target the wedding planner, be a book that's given to every guest who comes to the wedding as a thank you. It can part of maybe even the bachelorette parties. engagement parties. So there are
Pretty
ways in which
much.
you can weave that in.
Yeah, pretty much
So it's
anyone
just
in that wedding industry.
anybody,
Like
anybody.
all the wedding industry, even just I told her, I said, what about all the people who do what you did, the flower arrangement people? They would love it, right? Because then they could be, you could be selling it to them. Or I told her,
Absolutely.
I said, who is the main for the sponsorship? I said, who is someone that all florists use that is a really big company that maybe they would want an advertisement in the back of your book? Because you could just talk to them and see if they wanted to sponsor your book and they could put something in the back. And she was like, oh yeah, the styrofoam that you put in, there's this one company that's better than all the rest and the rest suck and they're horrible, but this is the best company. I said, yeah. So you would ask them if they wanted to sponsor your book.
Absolutely.
And just put out a big number that's more than what I'm asking you for. And then you'll have enough. Then you have a marketing budget in there with it.
And her information can be in there. The sponsor's information can be in there. There can be a sticker on the book said courtesy of the XYZ company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You have to think differently. Just think differently, because what's happening in this industry, and I know, Jen, that you see it all the time as well as I, is that there's a lot of copycatting. That, okay, everybody's doing this thing because this thing works. Yeah, it might for that person, but it might not necessarily be for you. And why don't you go where other people aren't going? That's my famous thing. Is like, if everybody's zigging, you want to zag. You want to do something completely differently from everybody else. Because, there are lots of lemmings out there. They're just following and then jumping off the cliff, and who knows what happens to them.
And something that works for one book might not work for the other book.
Exactly. You're comparing apples with oranges and it don't fit. You're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't fit. So don't do what everybody else is doing. Do something different. There's so many markets out there. And Amazon, as great as Amazon, is not your friend. Amazon is not interested in you unless you give them money, and then it's probably a short-term relationship.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, Amazon isn't really your friend. They don't want you selling your book anywhere other than Amazon. But that's not what we want. You want your book available to anyone, no matter where they want to buy it, whether it's your website or anywhere. So let's talk more about corporate gifts or bulk sales. Because I know that bulk sales and speaking and all that go together, but what about corporate gifts? Is that a way you could sell?
Corporate gifts, they could have holiday gifts, corporate giveaway holiday gifts. It's yours is more of a gift type book. Might be something. Depending on your market, if you've got anything to do with finance, for instance, you look at financial planners or insurance. Banks often are very good, especially if you're in a local market and they want to be known in a local market. So don't forget your local market. By the way, your local paper is very interested in you.
Yeah.
Well, much more than USA Today, or I don't know if that's still out there. The big boys, they're just not interested in you. But your local paper, you could get a lot of mileage out of them. Or your
we tell
radio station.
Yeah, we tell our authors, think about like when you have your press release go out that you hit bestseller, think about what high school did you go to? What college did you go to? What's your favorite teacher? And send them all a copy, because they have access to put it in that local newspaper or to put it over here, all the different places. And they have the newsletter that goes out just to the school, and they'll do a whole featured article. One of our authors just did a chapter in a book, but they sent the press release to their school. It was a Catholic school. And they put it on their website. They put it on the front page of the newsletter and made him look like he was a huge deal. And it was just a chapter in a book, but it was still a huge deal. But they loved it. And now it's searchable on Google too, right? Because it's in there. So many wonderful things by doing that.
Yeah. Thinking also of things like sororities and fraternities and any of the Greek organizations, then you can sell books, you can do fundraisers, all sorts of things. You can do book clubs. Book clubs are great too. Then you're selling at least, 10 books. If you go
Yeah.
to, and you can do book club interviews online,
Mhm.
Zoom. You don't have to be there in person, but it's
Yeah.
nice if you are, if it's local.
Yeah.
But
This is going to date me, but my parents were in Amway, so I was in Amway back in the
well,
day.
yes.
And we had a thing called the Book of the Month Club. But the group that my parents were in was probably thousands and thousands. But everyone was on the Book of the Month Club. So that book, that person, that the author of that book was getting 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people that were in that group in Amway that were getting that book. And so that is something to think about, is what multi-level marketing book would love your
Just,
book, and
hey,
contact them
network
and say,
marketing.
Mhm.
Network marketing, the franchises out there.
yeah.
Yes, in one of my books, I mentioned our local UPS store because they were so
Mhm.
phenomenal that I mentioned them in there. And they bought books to give out to their clients because they were so proud of the fact that I put them in the book. So
I
there
love
are
that.
opportunities out there. It's just thinking outside the box, thinking differently. And that's what I love to do with clients, is to
Mhm.
brainstorm
Yeah.
opportunities,
Yeah.
because you just often don't think of it. Think about the
Right.
clothing companies. Think
Mhm.
about, we had a client who, I don't normally do children's books, but
Mhm.
I
Sometimes
occasionally,
do. That's same
I
with us.
sometimes do. And I had a client who did a children's book, Fishing with Grandpa. And so I said, hey, this is beautiful. Take it to any of the fishing equipment people,
Sports
the
warehouses and stuff.
sportswear
Mhm.
company, a store like Dick's, for instance, who do sporting goods, or even REI or people like that.
Yeah, we have
Just
Shields out
watch.
here. Shields is a big one here.
Chills is a bit, there you
Mhm.
go. So you look at those opportunities and don't go in saying, will you buy my book? That doesn't work.
No.
Got to look at an angle, and an angle that they might be to not think about. If they've, especially like a manufacturer, if they're looking to do a promotion, maybe your
Mhm.
book could be right for them. This
Mhm.
one we looked at, they make fishing rods for kids. I didn't
Yeah.
know this kind of thing. I'm not into fishing, but
Yeah.
so that would be beautiful. For fishing, how about putting a book, Fishing with Grandpa, with a rod, a children's fishing rod?
Mhm.
And you can play with the pricing. The wonderful
Mhm.
thing is, when you self-publish or publish through people like ourselves, that you can play with the pricing.
Yes.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not tied
That's
to
the thing
traditional publishers'
right.
pricing.
A lot of our authors don't quite understand, because they have never been in the retail wholesale world. So they don't understand that you have a print price, you have a wholesale price, which is a price that you offer for bulk discount. And then you have your retail price that's one-on-one. And then if you do a book signing party, because you self-publish, you don't have to sell it for the retail price if you don't want to. You could also sell it for more than what you sell it on, because you're signing it. There's so many possibilities on pricing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just the sky is the limit in terms of
yes.
ideas as well. I tell you
Yeah.
what, go on to Chat AI and ask them for ideas of who might be interested in my book on whatever subject it
Mhm.
is, whether it's
Mhm.
leadership, sales, flower making, flower arranging, whatever. Go and ask, and it comes up with the most amazing ideas, things that
Yes.
y- you might not have thought of.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love AI. We have a book called Be Recognized that we're talking about AI and how to use AI to be published and be profitable. And that's why I love ChatGPT for that kind of stuff. Let's dive into, let's hear what your expertise is on like social media and TikTok. There's the thing called Book Talk. What's your experience with helping your authors figure out the Book Talk space or the Instagram Reels and that sort of thing?
Okay, so you're talking to the wrong person when it comes to
Okay.
anything social media.
Okay.
However, I do LinkedIn. I
Mhm.
do articles on LinkedIn. I do carousels on LinkedIn. And
Mhm.
then we put everything then onto Instagram. That is the extent of my social media.
Okay. But that's
I'm
enough.
not a firm believer in social media, to be honest
Okay.
with you, because again, it's getting to be a rat race.
Mhm.
Everybody's doing it. People
Mhm.
don't have the time. It's
That's
a
true.
lot of energy. And I think, I don't know that people are getting the real value, or it
Mm.
takes a lot
Mm-hmm.
before they get any results.
Yeah.
So I rather say look at and think about some of the things that we've been talking about. What other markets could you be looking at?
Yeah.
Podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasts are the number one opportunity,
Yes.
marketing strategy opportunity for authors.
Yeah.
And so get on podcasts, but get on podcasts that have got the target audience that you're interested in. Don't just go
Yeah.
on anyone. Just be
Mm-hmm.
very
And that,
strategic.
yes. And that's what I was going to say about social media, because you mentioned you do LinkedIn, which is important. But, and all those strategies we talked about earlier, you could target on LinkedIn because there's companies on there, people on there.
Yeah,
But having that present and writing the articles or having a newsletter on LinkedIn, all of that's really good. But that's I can't say it now, specificity. I can't say the word I'm trying to say. But be specific on your target audience, because
yes,
like I was saying, you don't really need a TikTok if your audience isn't on TikTok. So think
correct.
about your person who's going to read your book or who you're trying to get in front of,
Exactly.
and go to that social media platform, which is the same as podcasting, like you said. Really niche it down, or micro niche it, and go on the podcast that is going to be relevant to you
Absolutely. And that's
or
my
your book.
recipe is, yes, everybody's on TikTok, everybody's doing this, everybody's doing that. Think about what could you do differently, and you would still survive. You
Yes.
know? Don't think you won't survive if you don't do what everybody else is doing. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
you'd probably be a lot better off. And the energy, the time and the energy that it takes to do that, the social media, you could be doing a lot of other things, looking at associations, looking at people who could hire you to speak or to do
Mm-hmm.
training, looking at how can you do coaching opportunities. You can do lunch and learn opportunities for corporate. They love those lunch and learn, and which
Mm-hmm.
is a sort of a book club type
Yeah.
environment. And people bring their own lunch and sit around listening to you talk, or talk about
Yeah.
a specific subject. And there you go. You might have
Mm-hmm.
half a dozen people. They could, half a dozen books could be sold.
Yes. I've heard of
But
the Rotary Club, similar to that, the Rotary Club in your town.
yeah, exactly. So it's
Mhm.
looking for those opportunities. And I think don't be lazy about it. I think there's a laziness that
Mm.
because everybody's doing it, it's an easy thing to do. It isn't,
Yeah.
because it's not getting you the results. You
Mhm.
could be spending a lot of money on ads that you don't need to be.
Right.
So don't be fooled by all of this, what other people are doing.
Yes. I
Everybody's
like that.
digging zag.
I love that advice. Tell us where people can go to find you or to get, I know you have a gift to give away.
Yes, and the best way is through doing a book marketing brainstorm session with me. And that's literally a 20-minute call where we can talk about, if you don't have a niche market and you'd like to look at one, I'm really good at, within a very short period of time, is making suggestions, niches that might be right, a good fit for you. So to do a brainstorm session, which is literally bookmarketingbrainstorm.com. And that will take you to a form to fill in, because I'm only looking at nonfiction authors. So if you're fiction authors, sorry, folks. And then that will lead you to my calendar, and you can make an appointment and we can chat about that. So that's usually the
Sounds
best way.
great.
They can also go to avivapubs.com, and that's AVIVA dot pubs, PUBS.com. No
Great.
dot
Well, we'll
between
put
the
that,
S's. Put
of
that all
course,
in
we'll
the
put
show.
that up in the show notes.
Yeah,
People can go, we'll put it in the show notes. And then you have a podcast as well, Book
I
Marketing Mentors.
do. I thank you. Yes, Book Marketing Mentors. It's an award-winning podcast. We've been going like Jan we're in our 9th year now.
Oh, nice. Almost
And
the same as us. We're
we
about 10 now.
weekly podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's some great information, have wonderful guests on there. And we really go into depths and practical stuff. And that's a technical term on how you can do a better job with marketing. So
I
go
love
check it
that.
out. And that's at bookmarketingmentors.com.
Great. Thanks so much, Susan, for being on the show today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And if you like this podcast, please like and subscribe to our podcast, as well as leave a comment. We'd love to hear your feedback. And of course, ask any questions you have, and we'll try and reply to that as soon as possible, as well as sharing the podcast to your friends or someone you know that would help them. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.